A very warm welcome to another vlog, and this time around it's all about infrared photography. And I may have mentioned previously that my Nikon D10 was converted to infrared, but what does that mean? Well, essentially it means that the infrared blocking filter, which comes as standard with every camera, is removed and replaced with another filter that narrows down the band of infrared light that the camera captures. In the case of my camera, I chose a 720 nanometer conversion, and that 720 nanometer is just above and beyond the wavelengths of visible light. And the red end of visible light is closest to that 720 nm, and therefore when I bring my photographs home from the infrared camera, they have a very red hue to them, and that's the reason for that. So there are a number of Scots pine trees up here, stunning Scots pine trees, and I've been up here on a grey day. It's nice and sunny today, so the leaves on the Scots pine will show up nice and bright, but not as bright as deciduous trees, because the chlorophyll and the leaves themselves in the coniferous trees are denser and reflect less infrared light, but it gives a beautiful glow to the crown of the trees, and that's what I'm after today. So let's make our way up the hill here, and hopefully I can explain a little bit more about infrared photography, but more importantly that you can see the results in the camera. So I think I'll continue to shoot this vlog in infrared, since it's about infrared photography. I've reached the scattering of Scots pine trees on the bracken slopes here above Glendalough. It feels like a very remote location, yet not 20 minutes walk down into Glendalough and the car park down there. It's buzzing with activity on a Sunday afternoon. Now, about 3 weeks ago I came up here and I shot these trees in very dull overcast light, and the photograph was, I liked the photograph quite a lot, because the subtlety of the light, the subtle light reflecting off the crowns of the trees, just gave it a beautiful, soft, ethereal feel. Whereas today, the photographs that I've taken, the shadows here that you'll see to the left of me and beneath me here, quite dark, so you've got a lot of contrast in the image, and I don't think it makes for as pleasing an image. So there is a commonly held view that infrared photography is suited to bright sunny days, and I would argue that that's not the case. I'd actually argue that on overcast days I would prefer the types of images that I get on overcast days in infrared. And I think it's just that the infrared images that we see on the internet are high contrast images taken on sunny days. And indeed, there's a place for those types of images, but I really think infrared has more to offer on an overcast day. But that's not to say I'm going to give up today. I'm going to take a photograph of these trees. I can't recall exactly the gathering or the place I was in when I took the photograph 3 weeks ago in the overcast light. But nonetheless, I'll take this photograph here and I'll put the two photographs up to compare. So we've got subtle light from an overcast day and quite stark light that some would say is more suited to infrared photography. So I've come across a very simple composition here. The tree Scots pine. There's a little miniature larch on the very left hand side. I might even remove that from the image. And the Scots pine on the right hand side here, I've just moved the tripod a little bit back and forth to ensure that it doesn't encroach on the mountain to the right and where the mountain meets the valley, and the light, the dark light or the lack of light on that mountain is separate from the tree Scots pine trees. So it should flow nicely from left to right of frame. But again, it's very, very simple image. But I'm hoping that the light and the infrared will make a little something special of it. Now, an aspect of infrared photography which didn't really appeal to me at all and is false colour. It's just basically reversing the settings on the blue and the red channel. So in the blue channel you bring the reds up and the blues down, and on the red channel you bring the reds down and the blues up. And it creates an interesting little effect. So what I'll do is I'll put this image up, convert it to black and white, your traditional infrared image, and then I'll swap those channels and we'll see the effect of it. It's very strange, but I've done it for a couple of images and it's quite appealing. So I'll put one or two other images that I've worked on, and when I say worked on, I basically have just done the channel swap and maybe just decrease the blues ever so much. I'm going to keep pottering around here and then I'm going to make my way to a lone pine tree. And if you know Glendalough, when you come in to the main lake here in Glendalough, there's a little pine tree up on the right hand side on the slope of the hill on its own. And I've come up here before with the infrared camera and looked at that as a composition, either infrared or standard, maybe on a sunset. So I'm just going to go and have a potter around that tree to see whether a good composition is feasible. But I found my way over to that lone Scots pine tree that I mentioned, and here it is standing on the edge of a cliff, and I'm looking due eastwards here. The image I took 3 weeks ago was looking westward, and that's the ideal image, looking into the valley at Glendalough and up to the waterfall. The sun is moving around the sky, so the image into the valley with the tree in the foreground isn't feasible. So I've come around to the far side of the tree looking back. Now, one aspect of infrared photography is how skies are rendered, particularly blue skies. Blue skies are rendered very, very dark. It's important to be additionally conscious of clouds on a sunny day such as this. So for instance, I've took a number of photographs of the tree, just straight portrait shots, a couple of landscape shots. And those clouds that are passing by quite quickly overhead, if the cloud is directly behind the crown of the tree, it merges with the crown of the tree, because the clouds coming out quite light, the sky very dark, and the crown of the tree quite light. So it's important to time the clouds. And I've actually had a little bit of fun doing that in the last 20 minutes or so, in waiting for a cloud to be positioned to the left or to the right, to become a real feature in the photograph and not just a backdrop as such. So the individual clouds are subjects in themselves in the photograph. Now, I don't think I've got any great images, but I'll put a few up on the screen here just to give you a feel for the darkness of the sky, the lightness of the clouds, and the beauty through which infrared renders Scots pine trees in particular, and just the beauty of the tree itself. I think it's one of the most beautiful trees we have in Ireland. There's not that many of them. They're scattered here and there. I can see the wind really has got up now, so I'm going to leave the vlog there, and I hope you've enjoyed it. I know it's a short vlog, a Sunday afternoon out, and I hope it's given you a little bit of a taster for infrared photography, and I hope you either get a filter, where you can get a filter to place onto your lens. It's similar to a 10-stop filter in that you must use a tripod and you couldn't shoot trees on a windy day like this. Alternatively, you can get your camera converted. It costs around 400 or so euros. So I think that's the preferred option. If you have a spare camera, if you've upgraded your camera, rather than trading it in, maybe hold on to it and get it converted into infrared and enjoy a little bit of daytime photography when the alarm clock doesn't go off for sunrise. Okay, well, until next time, thanks very much for watching.